Lesson 14. Bluffing. Bluffing is an essential skill for a winning poker player. This lesson will teach you the right situations for bluffing. A bluff is a bet made with a hand which you don't think is the best hand on the table. The goal of a bluff is to lead players to believe that you have a stronger hand than you actually do and scare them into folding. If you carefully manipulate your betting actions to give other players the impression that you have certain cards, this is called bluffing. Bluffing can be profitable in the following situations. You currently have no hand, but you do have a good draw, a flush or a straight. On the flop, you have a spade flush draw. By betting $7 on a flush draw, you are semi-bluffing. On the turn, your hand improved to an open-ended straight and flush draw. You semi-bluff again, betting $14. Your semi-bluff worked. Your opponent folded. Whenever you bet with a hand that has potential to become a good hand by the river, you are semi-bluffing. You can take advantage of late position to bluff. If your opponents act weakly and check, they are unlikely to have a strong hand. By acting aggressively, you can take advantage of the situation and steal the pot. It's easier to trick a few people than a crowd. With one opponent, you only need to scare away one person. Do not use this bluff against players you don't know. Players who fold a lot are the biggest targets of a bluff. If you know your opponent is tight and have a reasonable hand, you can bluff them into folding. Keep in mind that if a very tight player doesn't fold to your bluff, you should probably avoid putting any more chips into the pot. If you think your opponent missed a draw late in the hand, you should consider bluffing with a weak hand. On the turn, there is a good chance that your opponent has either one of the two flush draws or several straight draws that are available. The fact that they called strengthens this assumption. The river card rules out any of the possible draws. Your opponent checked, which strengthens your suspicion that they failed to hit the draw. This is an opportunity for a bluff. Your pre-flop raise didn't pan out. You started out with a strong hand, but the flop made it weaker. Since you raised pre-flop, your opponent thinks you have a strong hand, so you should consider bluffing. Take care not to bluff every time you miss a flop, or you will become predictable. Occasionally you will run into a dry board, low cards with slim draws. There is a good chance that this kind of board is equally bad for all players. Your opponent's actions confirm your suspicion. This flop is as bad for them as it is for you. Your bluff worked. Your opponents folded better cards than you. Warning: when trying this bluff, make sure you are not facing a calling station.